Ever notice how some guys seem to effortlessly attract women, sometimes even half their age? And no, I'm not talking about sugar daddies or guys trying to buy attention. I am talking about the guys who have mastered something that most men never understand: the tribal leader frame. And once you understand this evolutionary trigger, attracting younger women becomes almost inevitable. What's up? I am Rob Judge, and in today's video, I am going to break down exactly why some older guys just seem to get it with younger women. And like I said in the intro, this has nothing to do with flashing money or resorting to some other trickery. Believe it or not, most older guys could be naturally commanding attention and respect from women who are 10, 20, even 30 years younger than them, but only if they know how to play their cards right. And let's face it, most older guys don't play their cards right because they think being an older guy is a liability. So they try to compensate, which usually means becoming a sugar daddy, or even worse, acting younger or just acting like someone that they're not. Not only is it embarrassing, but they're also setting themselves up to fail. And the worst part is most older guys don't even realize that they're doing this. But after coaching thousands of men, I can tell you, your age isn't the problem. Your frame is. In this video, I will show you the 5 secrets of maintaining the right masculine frame, the kind that gets younger women naturally chasing you. So let's jump right into it. Secret number 1, setting the right frame. I want to begin by defining what frame actually means so that we're all on the same page here. It's not just some PUA buzzword. It's a real psychological concept that determines how people perceive and respond to you. The frame is essentially your vibe. It's the unspoken message that you send about how you view yourself and how others should treat you. Think of your frame like your personal reality bubble. It's the context through which others experience you. And here's the thing. When you're interacting with a woman, whoever's frame is stronger ends up leading the interaction, regardless of age. An attractive man's frame always needs to be strong. But when you're an older guy looking to attract a younger woman, you also want to make sure that you set the right frame, a frame that leverages your age as an advantage. And there's an attractive masculine archetype that does exactly that, which is the archetype of the tribal leader. Think about it from an evolutionary psychology perspective. Women are hardwired to feel attraction for the tribal leader. From their first crush on an older boy at school, to that hot college professor, or maybe it's like when they're dating their boss at work. This attraction to older authoritative men is deeply ingrained. It's one of the most common female fantasies. Keep in mind, though, these fantasies aren't simply based on a guy being older. They're based on a guy being the tribal leader, which means embodying qualities like leadership, authority, and wisdom in addition to his age. And that's where a lot of older guys mess up. They play to the wrong archetype. They try to be the rebellious bad boy or the smooth charmer. These archetypes may work for a guy who's closer to a woman's age, but if you're an older guy looking to meet, attract, and date younger women, you need to lean into what actually makes you attractive to younger women, which is your natural authority as the tribal leader. What younger women find so irresistible about older men is that they've seen it all, they've done it all, and they're completely unfazed by the noise of life. Younger women don't see attractive older men as peers. They see them as authoritative leaders. Without that, an older guy is just a nice mentor. And that's at best. At worst, he's the creepy older guy. So to tie this all back to the idea of setting the right frame, if your behavior doesn't align with calm leadership and confident authority, you lose the frame. You can't act like her peer, or worse, like one of her subordinates. Every move you make, how you talk, how you carry yourself, should subtly communicate that you're the one leading the interaction. And lucky for you, that's exactly what we're going to cover in the next 4 secrets. Secret number 2, subtle authority wins. The second secret is all about establishing authority. but in a way that feels natural, not forced. This is where a lot of guys go wrong. They either try too hard and come off as controlling, or they completely defer their authority. And now both of these are mistakes. Let me give you a personal example. I've been an avid runner since I was a freshman in high school. And whenever I'd meet a woman who'd say that she's also into running, the old me would do exactly what most guys would do in this situation, what most guys would do when they find out they have something in common with an attractive woman. They blurt out, "Oh, wow, that's awesome. I'm into running too." We say things like this almost like it's a knee-jerk response because we want to build rapport. But what's actually happening is we're handing her the frame and forfeiting our authority. Once I started to understand the importance of frame and setting the right frame, my response sounded more like this. I would say something like, "Oh, you run? But wait, what kind of runner are you? Are you one of those train for 2 weeks and do a local 5K runner? Or are you like a legit runner? Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Just tell me how many miles you logged last week." See the difference? Instead of celebrating the commonality, I'm playfully establishing myself as the authority who determines what constitutes a legit runner. I'm subtly asserting myself as the authority without coming across as controlling or domineering. And you could apply this to anything that comes up in conversation, whether it's books, movie, travel, your opinions, or anything else that you're into and or knowledgeable about. If you're a big Lord of the Rings nerd and she mentions loving the movies, don't just get excited and agree. Instead, ask her, "Okay, but here's the important question. Who's your favorite character?" It's a subtle shift that positions you as the authority, but in a way that's not heavy-handed or it's not weird. You're setting a frame where she's now qualifying herself to you and not the other way around. You're playfully challenging her while positioning yourself as the expert, as the authority, as the attractive tribal leader. Secret number 3, the power of genuine curiosity. The third secret is something that I learned from watching Joe Rogan interview people. When most guys talk to women, they're just asking questions to keep the conversation going. It's like they're playing this conversational ping pong game, right? Bouncing from one obvious question to the next. Their goal is to simply keep the conversation going, to keep a woman's mouth moving. A lot of the time, they're not even really listening to what a woman's actually saying because they're so in their head thinking of what they're going to say next, what logical question to follow up with to, keep her talking. Now, contrast that with how a guy like Joe Rogan talks, to how Joe interviews the people that he invites on his podcast. You can see Joe's genuinely listening. He's genuinely interested to hear what they have to say, and he's curious to know more. He doesn't just ask the next logical question. He's not simply thinking, "Oh, how do I keep the conversation going?" Instead, you often see Joe pause, actually consider what's being said, and then ask follow-up questions based on his authentic curiosity. When a guest says something interesting, Joe will often say, "That's fascinating, but what I really want to know is," and then ask something completely unexpected. And believe it or not, this is actually another permutation of setting an authoritative frame. Think about it. When you're asking questions because you're genuinely curious, what's the frame? It's that she's the one performing for your enjoyment. You're not just desperately asking questions to keep her talking. Instead, you're asking the questions that you think will lead to the most interesting or the most entertaining responses. Let me demonstrate this with a personal example. A few years back, I remember I was on this date with a girl who was a professional pianist, which is a pretty interesting job. And I remember she started telling me about this concert that she had recently performed at, a concerto. And if I just wanted to keep her talking, I might have asked the typical follow-up questions like, "Wow, do you ever get nervous when you perform?" Or, "So, who is your favorite composer?" But I didn't ask those questions because those questions are the boring, low-hanging fruit. Instead, I listened to what she was saying, I thought about it for a moment, and then I asked her, "Do you ever have to take a piss when you're in a performance? Like, what would you do?" And I remember her eyes lit up and she started cracking up. And obviously this wasn't because it was such a brilliant question or even because it was really that funny, But she could see that I was asking because I was genuinely curious, because it was something that I genuinely wanted to know. She could see that I was engaged, that I was actually listening to her. And most importantly, that I wasn't just asking questions in an attempt to keep the conversation going or because I was trying to impress her. Authentic curiosity signals that you're not filtering yourself, that you're confident enough to just come out and ask what you're really thinking, the things that you really want to know. It makes for much better, more entertaining conversations, as well as maintains the frame of you as a tribal leader, guiding the conversation based on what you genuinely want to know. Secret number 4, never ask for permission. This 4th secret is something that might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's crucial. Stop asking for permission. Permission is kryptonite to the tribal leader frame. If you're constantly seeking approval, whether it's from her or anyone else, you're signaling that you're not in control. This is hard for a lot of guys. I get it, because we're raised to be people pleasers, always checking in, always checking to make sure everything's okay. But think about it. Would a tribal leader constantly seek approval from others? It's not about being a pushy jerk. It's about taking appropriate action with confidence. For example, imagine you're at a restaurant and they seat you at a noisy, busy table. Most guys would timidly try to flag down their server and then meekly ask if maybe, possibly, they could move to another table. But a tribal leader doesn't ask. He acts. He just gets up and starts relocating to a better table, assuming that the world will accommodate him. If he catches the server's eye, he might say, "We're going to move to that table over there." Now notice, he's not asking, he's telling. 9 times out of 10, they'll just say, "Of course." Why? Because you're acting like someone who knows what they want and isn't afraid to make it happen. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And believe me, women notice this kind of decisive action. It's a huge turn on because it screams confidence and it frames you as the authority. Now apply that same idea to how you interact with women. Instead of asking, "Would you maybe want to grab dinner sometime if you're free and if you'd like sushi?" Just say, "Let's grab dinner Thursday. I know a good sushi place, so wear something nice. What time works best for you?" See the difference? You're not being aggressive, you're not being demanding, you're simply leading with confidence. Secret number 5, handling tests like a pro. The final secret is probably the most important. How to handle tests while staying non-reactive. Because as I always say, once a woman starts seeing you as the attractive tribal leader, she's gonna test you. It's inevitable because it's hardwired into female psychology. She's testing to make sure the confident, self-assured guy that she's seeing is the real deal. But most guys fail these tests because they either react emotionally or they fall into her frame. And really, those are the only 2 ways to fail a woman's test, which is 1, react emotionally, which means letting her see you get sad, mad, upset, or even just withdrawn and or a little butthurt. Or 2, you fall into her frame by arguing with her or trying to defend yourself. Anytime a woman tests you and you start explaining, arguing, debating, defending, or apologizing, you're losing. So what should you do instead? Well, let me demonstrate this with a personal example. And this is one I use a lot, and especially with my coaching clients. So if you've already heard this one, I apologize in advance. But there was a point where I found myself in a situation where a woman, who's actually now my wife, was testing me in a rather aggressive and nasty way. And one of the things that she did was she called me a cockroach, and she did not say this in a playful way, very seriously accusing me of being a cockroach. Now, how would most guys respond? Well, had I not understood that she was testing me, I know I probably would have responded by either A, getting upset and defensive, arguing, "I'm not a cockroach, how could you say such a thing?" Or B, I might have tried to get all logical, saying, "Well, now hold on, if you actually look at my behavior." But both these responses would have failed her test. Thankfully, I knew better at the time. So instead, I just smirked at her and said, "So what is it about cockroaches that you like so much?" That response isn't defensive or argumentative or even really logical. Instead, it playfully reframed what she said in a way that's favorable to me. Let me leave you with an analogy that perfectly illustrates why maintaining the tribal leader frame is so crucial. Imagine a woman putting on this incredibly seductive display. She's in lingerie, dancing sensually, totally embodying this fantasy of feminine allure. Then suddenly, she lets out this massive, thunderous fart. What happens to that fantasy? It's instantly shattered. Now, that's exactly what happens when you contradict the tribal leader frame. You might have a younger woman totally drawn in by your natural authority, completely aligned with her evolutionary programming to be attracted to the tribal leader. Then you start seeking her approval or deferring your authority, and poof, fantasy destroyed. So remember the 5 secrets that we covered. 1, understanding and embodying the tribal leader frame. 2, establishing authority subtly. 3, asking questions from a place of genuine curiosity. 4, stepping up and giving yourself permission. 5, handling tests while staying non-reactive. If you've ever struggled with maintaining your authority or feel like you're constantly losing the frame, I've actually got another video on this channel that you're going to want to check out, which is the 4 mistakes that older guys make. And now pay special close attention to mistake number 2 because it directly relates to the authority frame that we discussed today. And I'm going to link to it here. You're going to see a card pop up and you can click right on it to check it out. And also, if you're serious about mastering the art of attraction, the course that I created with Bobby Rio called Unlock the Scrambler dives even deeper into these concepts, offering step-by-step strategies to create desire in women, even if she's that hard to get girl. So check it out at www.unlockthescrambler.com/Rob, and I'll put a link to it in the description. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Your support helps to keep me delivering the content to help you live your best life. So go ahead and drop a comment below, letting me know which of the 5 secrets resonated with you the most. And until next time, keep owning that frame and leading like the tribal leader that you were born to be.